Well, hello there. I wanted to give you all a big shout out for listening to the show and saying thank you so very much. Today, we're listing the top 5 countries that are listening to Empowered Within. They are, in consecutive order, United States, India, United Kingdom, Germany, Canada, and France. And our top 5 cities that are listening right now to Empowered Within are Fort Myers, Florida, Frankfurt, Maine, Hesse, Phoenix, Arizona, East Falmouth, Massachusetts, and Huntington Beach, California. To you, we all say thank you so very much for supporting and listening to the show. Thank you for all of the ratings, the reviews, the comments that you're leaving, the direct emails that you're sending to me, telling me what you're liking about the show and what you want to see more of. I love that. If you too would like to send me a message, hop over to jenniferpilates.com. I'd love to chat with you. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show. Welcome to Empowered Within, a soul-quenching, transformational podcast that will set your soul on fire through candid and inspiring conversations. Leading experts, celebrities, healers, and I share our journeys of how we've overcome challenges to living an empowered life from within. I'm your host, Jennifer Pilates. Welcome to another episode of Empowered Within. Hi there, and welcome to this new episode. Today's guest is the awe-inspiring and my beautiful friend, Melissa Bright. In 2020, when the world was falling apart and so was she, Melissa decided to take control of her life, go to therapy, start a podcast, and start living as the real, authentic Melissa. She is now living out her life's purpose with her podcast and her mission to help others not feel alone during their struggles. She is the host and creator of the Bright Side of Life podcast, a mental health podcast that navigates and discusses people's successful journeys to happiness despite their struggles. Welcome to the show, Melissa.
Thank you, Jennifer. I am so excited to be here. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk with you again.
I know. I'm so excited to have you here. So everyone, Melissa recently was so kind and invited me onto her podcast, and we did an incredible, fun interview. It's live now, and we even did a live intuitive reading for her. So do tell, how have you been feeling since that podcast? Because that was a big deal, the one that we did together on your show.
Yeah, I have been feeling great. I've been more aware of things, really took some words that you said to heart. One of the biggest things that you said that I really need to believe and trust is that life doesn't have to be so damn hard, and you don't always have to take the route that has the inches of mud every time. And I feel like that's what I thought life has had to be. And you said, no, you can just go across the bridge and it'll be fine. And I'm like, I really need to lean into that and trust that. So that's what I'm trying to do right now.
I am so proud of you. And that's something, honestly, that we all have to work on each and every day, because literally we have been programmed, for, lack of a better word, but the truth, to believe that if you're not working hard and you're not in pain, then, life, you really can't be doing it right. And the truth is it's not about the hustle. It's about the aligning and the flowing of life. And that's when it feels great and it feels awesome. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm excited also.
Yay. So let's start with you. So in 2020, you were like, that's it. I'm changing my life. This isn't working for me. What was the one defining moment that got you to that point?
Oh, yeah. Great question. So in 2020, we all know COVID happened. And at that time, I was a travel agent, newer travel agent, like in my 3rd year. And well, the whole world shut down. So travel agents were making $0. And I wasn't making any money. That was really hard for me. I was like, okay, if the world is shut down and I have some time right now, I am going to look at my purpose and really ask myself some hard questions. And that's exactly what I did. I actually listened to a podcast, Jay Shetty on Purpose. He had a lady on there and she's like, whenever I look out in the world and I ask myself what makes my heart hurt, and then I solve, and then I think about that, and then how can I solve that? So I was like, well, if that's all you have to do to find your purpose, like if that's that simple, I said, Melissa, what hurts your heart when you look out into the world? And that was other people feeling alone in their struggles, that nobody else could possibly be going through what they're going through. So that was the problem. How am I going to solve it? Well, I loved podcasting. I had listened for years and years to podcasts. And I was like, I want to talk to people that have been through real stuff and talk about it and how they have successfully executed and found their path, quote unquote, back to the bright side of life. And that was my defining moment. I had to sit with myself, ask myself those questions, and then get my butt going to start a podcast.
Well, and it's a beautiful podcast. It's so inspiring. I loved it. And your energy is great. So congratulations. So now how long has your podcast been out on the air?
Yes. So that was back in July when I had that defining moment, and it aired. The very first trailer was September 1st. So really 2 months turnaround time. I was on a mission, had all the time in the world, and made it happen. So basically September of 2020 it's been published.
That's wonderful. I have such goosebumps. Congratulations, because it's like a little over a year now, a year anniversary. This is so exciting for you.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. It's been such an awesome journey. Even to look back, in July of last year, my life was so different. I did not know the 60 plus people I've had on my podcast before this. And it's just been like you. I didn't know you before this. And it's been awesome. You can really create your life into something that you want if you want to.
Right. And that's such great advice for people out there to know that. When you look back and you decided, I'm going to go into therapy and deal with things, obviously there was some things that had transpired in your life. What happened pre that brought you up to that point?
So I've had quite the journey in terms of before therapy. So one important moment, and it wasn't that was travesty, is I did have my daughter whenever I was 16. That was not traumatic. That was not bad. She is literally the blessing in my life. But then that really brought my mom and I really close together, because when you have a daughter that is pregnant at 16, you're disappointed at first, but then you want to do everything to help them, support them. And that's exactly what my mom did. My mom became my instant best friend. There was no more secrets on the table. She knew everything from that point. But then at the age of 25, my mom got sick with COPD, and that's chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder. And she passed away within 8 months after her diagnosis. So the importance of that was I was 25 raising a 10-year-old, and I was about to be in the teenage years with my daughter without the support of my mom. And I was really scared because she was my best friend. She was my everything. So pretty much for 10 years, I thought I was successful in not dealing with her passing. I was like, oh, I got this. I'm good. No, I just pushed that stuff down and I didn't deal with it. I was just, I think, not so much in the denial phase because I knew she was gone, but I wasn't thinking about it. I was putting it somewhere that I didn't have to deal with it. And that all came to a head in 2020. I wanted to tell my mom what the hell was going on in this world and all the craziness. I had never wanted to talk to my mom so bad. And that's when I had to get into therapy, because I had a literally defining moment, bawling my eyes out watching Fried Green Tomatoes, because that was me and my mom's movie we liked watching. Thought I was going to be okay. My daughter sees me sobbing, trying to hold it together, and there was no holding it together. And my boyfriend said, I think we need to get you into some therapy. I was like, let's do it. I got to do it. I have to.
Right. And how great of you to being so open to it, because not everyone is. Or, years ago, therapy had such a stigma to it. And it really is so beneficial if you're open to just hearing what someone else has to say.
Yeah. And the thing for me is whenever my mom first passed away, my stepdad went to, I think, maybe grief counseling or grief support or something. And he offered it to me. And I said, no. In my head, I'm like, they're not going to understand what I'm talking about. I do not want to go and sit with a bunch of individuals and talk about, they don't know what I'm going through. I don't believe that is the case anymore. I think when you are going through something like this now, you need to be open to that, even if it's just therapy one-on-one. But the impact that therapy has in the professional, and they can tell you like, hey, you these feelings that you're having, that's actually normal. Melissa, did you know that's actually normal? And you're about the 20,000th person that has told me that this is what you're feeling about losing your mom when you think you're the only one. And that's really comforting and reassuring. And they can put a title to, yeah, this is what it is, Melissa. And that was comforting to me. Definitely.
I can only imagine. And so since then, you've had more loss in your life.
Yeah.
How has that impacted the loss from your mom?
So in January of this year, I lost my dad. He had died basically right after a heart and kidney transplant. It just wasn't successful. His body could not take it. And that one was hard in a different way. It was hard because my dad and I were not close. We had not been close in years. There was no bad blood. It's just my dad did not know how to show emotion. He didn't know how to be a father, and he just kind of avoided me and my brother. So before he passed away in 2020, he actually retired and moved back to the same state as me. I was so excited. He was about 3 hours away, but he was no longer 14 hours away. 3 hours is doable. 3 hours is a relationship. 3 hours is, I could see my dad once a month. Like this is the new beginning for us. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. And that was really my worst nightmare, because I held on to having a conversation with my dad, and I wanted to tell him that I forgave him and that I know that he only knew what he knew, and he only knew how to father, how he was father, or, how his father was. So that was a different pill to swallow. And that one, I didn't have closure, didn't get to see him at the hospital, COVID, he was cremated. So that was a different kind of grief that I've had to deal with this last year. Thankfully, I was in therapy at that time, and that really did help me process some things that I was making up in my head. So now here I am, 36, with no parents left here. So that's been, I don't want to play the victim mode, but at the same time, that's some hard crap that I have to kind of come to terms with.
Right. And first and foremost, I'm so sorry for the loss of your mom and your dad.
Thank you.
It's nothing short of, it just is traumatic. It really is. And there is no victim card here whatsoever. What is important to remember is that while your parents aren't here physically, you know that spiritually they're here for you, and they're always around you, and all you have to do is call on them, and they're there for you in every moment, whenever you need them. And the blessing is that you do have your boyfriend and you do have your beautiful daughter, which is incredible. And it's just remembering those moments, remembering what you do have, and still honoring what was. And I know how challenging that is, because like you, I've had a lot of loss this past year. So I get it. I really do get it. It's hard. And especially this year, this past year with COVID, this was very different when you lose someone and you're not able to see them, and then there is it's like it's surreal. It's like it didn't happen.
Yep.
Like what happened?
Yeah.
There's just this space, and the grief just sort of pops up at different odd times because of that closure. And that's really difficult. And I know people say, and closure can only come from within, but this was an exceptionally interesting year at a time. And I know, like you, like me, numerous people have had this same kind of traumatic loss. And just all you can say is, what just happened?
Right. And people do want that closure, and it's hard. It's like, I didn't get to say goodbye to this person properly. Could there even have been a funeral? Was there a funeral? A lot of people didn't even get that. And that is a whole nother layer that you have to process. It's like you don't have that closure that you want to say goodbye to whatever you need to do. And it's just like, we're just supposed to move on about our life and just move. And it's like, what? I mean, when it happened, my brother lives in Montana. I'm in Missouri. We were like, do we get together? Do we just kind of get together to honor dad? And finally, in August, I was able to go up there. I took my whole family up there, and that was a wonderful time, because that's That's all we could do. Let's get together because life is precious and we need to make this happen more often. So that's what I did.
What a beautiful blessing that came about out of something so tragic. Wow.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. With this, you've been in therapy. I'm assuming you're still in therapy. And how is that going now? How is this next transition, this next pivotal moment for you?
So to be honest, I actually stopped therapy a couple months ago. I thought that I had all the tools that I needed, or at least I was good for now. I was good for then. And that actually has changed a little bit recently. And I just got back into therapy within the last week. You know, stuff is coming up, like, without getting into great detail. I learned a lot of not so great qualities from my dad, some behaviors that I really need to work on to have healthy relationships and for me to move forward. And I just was not successfully executing that. And I needed to start talking to a therapist again, because when I was not in therapy, I realized that I had major attachment issues, and I just learned about what that was. And so me and my therapist hadn't processed that yet, hadn't talked about that, and I've learned a lot. So it's time to get back in, talk to her, and
yeah, no, it's incredible. It's to do the work. It's to do the work, to do the healing. And congratulations that you took that step to go back in. And I think that's important for our listeners to hear, that it's okay for a moment to go, you know what, I think I'm good. And it is just as okay to go, you know what, I think I could be better with it right now.
Yep.
It's a tool.
And I was not in the slightest ashamed, like, at all. I'm like, nope. It's like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like, I need this thing, and I'm just going to do it again. I have to. I know what it's best for me. That's like, you know, if you haven't exercised in a couple months and you're like, okay, I feel like crap, not eating the best. I just need to start feeling better. What are you going to do? You're going to start exercising, eating healthy, going to bed earlier. You do whatever you need to take care of you. And that's the same thing for your mind and for your healing. And that's what I had to do.
What if it was possible to have local fresh groceries delivered right to your door? Think of all the free time you'd have. Well, Instacart gives unlimited grocery delivery for one low monthly fee. Forgot that special ingredient in your favorite dish? Instacart can deliver it to your front door in as fast as 1 hour. You can shop multiple stores, see deals in your area, and save time and money. I've been using Instacart for over 3 years. I started using them in Arizona, and I'm using them here in Florida. I love the time-saving convenience. They pick the freshest products, and they keep my eggs safe too. To receive your first delivery free, follow the link in the show notes so that Instacart knows that we sent you, and to help support the show. Instacart. Never step foot in a grocery store again. You heard it through the grapevine here. The story of Dry Farm Wines. Pure, natural wines begin from a healthy farm and ends with a vibrant sip from biodiverse vineyards to antioxidant-rich grapes. Dry Farm Wines, pure, natural wines, express a completely unique wine experience, conveniently curated with wines of your choice on a schedule that's right for you. I fell in love with Dry Farm Wines about 3 years ago after I noticed I was having allergies drinking wine. When introduced to Dry Farm Wines, what I loved about them is that they're organic and biodynamic. They're vegan and lower in alcohol, sugar-friendly to keto and paleo, and free of toxic additives and low to no sulfates. You are drinking a healthy glass of wine. Not only that, they have an incredible happiness promise. If you don't like a wine for any reason, they will either replace the bottle or refund you in full, whichever you prefer. To receive your penny bottle of wine, follow the link in the show notes so that Dry Farm Wine knows that we sent you and to help support the show. Dry Farm Wines, pure, natural, great wines from around the world delivered to your door. Exactly. And you're doing such a great job at taking care of your mind, your body, and your spirit, because jumping on here live, we were talking about you've just experienced EFT for the first time.
Yeah.
So tell everyone, how was your experience with that?
That experience was incredible. I honestly did not know what it was before I had done it. I had a friend reach out and said 2 years ago, hey, I think you should really do this for your anxiety. And I was not on my healing journey then. I was not very educated about everything that was going on internally. So it wasn't the right time. she reached out again recently and said, hey, let's do a session. I know you've been struggling recently. And so we just did it yesterday and it was incredible. Lo and behold, I did not know this, but she's also an intuitive reader. My dad came through. This lady starts crying. I think it's something to do with me. And she just starts crying and I wasn't crying. And I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, so I don't know how to tell you this, but your dad's here and he needs to tell you some things. And I'm like, this is the second time in 2 weeks that somebody has told me my dad's here. Mm-hmm. Somebody needs to talk to you. So we not only did tapping on myself, we tapped on my 8-year-old self from a belief that I had when I was younger. We tapped on my dad because my dad said that he wanted to change and that he didn't want to be who he was when he was alive. And I was open to that because I just want to heal. And so much of our inner child is not healed. And you have to go back into those moments that you created this belief system of not enoughness, not worth it, whatever it is that you had, maybe trauma when you were a child. I think it was amazing. And I feel amazing right now. I feel calm and I feel at peace. And I'm like, let's do it.
That is amazing. I'm so excited for you. EFT tapping is, it is so amazing for anyone that has anxiety and stress. It's something you can learn on your own. And again, have in your toolbox. If you need it, you can pull it out. But to have also a professional session like you had is a true blessing to be able to have that opportunity as well.
Yeah. And I like I said, I had crippling anxiety 2 years ago and she had said something about it and I just didn't, I thought it was kind of weird. I don't even know if I thought it was weird. I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't hopeful. I'm like, okay, it's just another thing. And it was really cool. And I think it takes people like me to take the courage. Okay, let's do something a little bit, maybe not so like, is it that weird? No, it's just, we're not accustomed to it. It's out of our whatever. And so now I can talk about it and maybe other people will be like, oh, Melissa did it, so maybe I should try it. So.
Exactly. It goes back to all the things that could help us. Society has actually pushed away. The tapping, the meditation, seeing a healer, seeing an intuitive reader for the insight. I mean, why wouldn't we do all of these things if they're available to us? And if all of the ancient ancestors were doing this, they did just fine. And actually, let's be clear, after the last 2 years, there are portions where they were doing a hell of a lot better than we have been doing. So,
right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Getting back to your journey, for our listeners that are out there, for someone who may be resonating with what you're saying, they've had a loss of a parent or both or a loved one, what piece of advice would you give to them if you could only give them one that could help them in this moment if they're feeling stuck, if they're where you were in 2020? What would you say to them?
Yeah, they're probably not going to like my answer because I don't like my answer either, but it's the truth. And the best piece of advice I can give is you have to sit with whatever feelings come about. It can be anger, it can be guilt, it can be whatever, sadness. We're in this age where we like to numb things, whatever that means. It can be with drugs, it can be with alcohol, it can be with spending money, it can be with like shopping, whatever it is that we just kind of try to take the edge off. And it's not going to go away until you sit with the feelings. Does that mean you just sit in your chair and you're like, okay, feelings, come on, I'm going to feel through you? Maybe, I don't know. Everybody's journey is different. I really had to like sit with these sadness and anger and whatever it is. And these are just emotions. They can come and go as fast. Doesn't mean they're going to be there. Just as fast as joy and happiness can be, so can sadness and anger. And it's not what people necessarily want to hear, but that's my answer. Sit with the feelings. And the quicker you do that and don't wait 10 years, the better off you'll be. Right.
That's excellent advice. Processing. All we have to do, and like you're saying, is to sit with it and choose your moments and feel it and let it go through you. You don't have to hold on to it forever. That's not what emotions are about. You did a wonderful explanation there, and that's great advice. And hopefully everyone will heed that, because it's definitely, and that the piece of advice that you just gave is so beautiful. We can use that for everything in life right now. Absolutely everything. We're supposed to be feeling our feelings. And for years, again, we've been taught, stuff it down, put it under the carpet, don't talk about it, move along. That didn't get us anywhere.
Nope.
So perhaps if we all talk and communicate, we can really get somewhere.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And, you know, it's not easy to hear at first. And at first you're like, yeah, okay, whatever, not doing that. I'm telling you, it doesn't go away. My mom was gone 10 years. In 2020, it was like, whoa, hey, girl, hey, you're going to have to deal with this now. And that's exactly what happened. So sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it's the most beneficial.
Right. It's not the bearer of bad news at all. It's being authentic, Melissa, which is a beautiful thing to be.
Very true.
So through everything that you've gone through in a long period of time and a short period of time, you know, since you've really, dove deep into your healing, I know that you've really been working hard on overcoming fear and limiting beliefs. What tools, what practices have worked for you that you can share with our listeners?
So one important thing that I like to explain to people is I lost my mom at such a pivotal time in my life. 25 is not super young, but I didn't have all my crap together. That's for sure. Although I thought I did. And so the best way I can explain it is over the last 10 years, I really lost my direction in life because I didn't have that number one support system. So with that, I also lost my self-confidence, my self-worth, because I didn't have that person to go to. Hey, mom, am I going in the right direction? Do you still love me that I didn't finish college? Whatever it is. So I lost a lot of my self-worth and self-confidence. And so this year, when I decided to start my podcast, something that I did to kind of get that back was I did something every single day that scared me. And whatever you have, like your fear and your limiting beliefs, like I'm not good enough to be a podcaster. Oh my God, my voice sucks, or whatever it is that you want to accomplish, but there's something stopping you because you have a limiting belief. I did these small things that scared me to prove to myself that one, I can do it, and two, I am worth it. And then I kept proving myself like, yeah, see, Melissa, you did it, you did it, you did it. And over that time with you doing these small investments of yourself, you start getting your confidence back. You start loving yourself more. That might not be the same journey for people that have went through loss and grief. But since it was my mom, who was my best friend and my everything and my go-to girl, I lost a lot of that self-worth. So even if that's not how you might have lost your self-worth or confidence or whatever, I feel like the same strategy could be applied, is to do little things that scare you and surprise yourself, and then be proud of yourself and be like, oh, I did it. Like, that wasn't that bad. And I'm still alive, and nobody like killed me, and nobody like whatever on social media that you think could happen, whatever it is, your worst reality did not come true.
Right? Fear. False evidence appearing real. We always have to remind ourselves of this. So are you willing to share with us maybe one or two things that you did? Because I'm sure someone's sitting there going, well, what do I do? Like, climb up a ladder today, Melissa? Like, what do you want me to do? What'd you do?
And yeah, that's the exact thing. So a lot of my fear was me not thinking that I was worth having a successful podcast. Oh my gosh, my voice sucks. Like this, I listen back to myself. So if there is something that you're wanting to obtain, a goal, I don't care if it's weight loss, you're wanting to land this new job, but you're scared to even tell somebody like, hey, I'm trying to go for that position, whatever it is. So the things that I did is I recorded, I didn't let my mind fester over my voice sucks or whatever, because I've actually now been told that I have a very lovely voice.
And you do.
So it was like, thank you. Besides with this cold. So I pressed the record button. I didn't let myself do that, to just wait and wait and wait. Social media, it's scary putting yourself out there, recording videos, being vulnerable. One thing that I did, and I guess I should mention that, is I told myself when I started my podcast, there were going to be no more fake posts on social media. And by fake, I don't mean I was posting fake stuff before, but I wasn't posting real stuff that was happening in my life, like how depressed I was. And I was just posting all the good stuff. Nope. You go to my social media now, you will know every time that I'm struggling, what I am going through. And that has actually brought in the best people in my life by being my true self. And people are like, oh my God, she's going through that. Wow, I'm kind of going through the same thing. And then that opens up people. So taking a risk on social media, opening up, being authentic and vulnerable has really helped. And I know that is not easy for people, because when you are vulnerable, that you're allowing people to kind of maybe judge you, and that's not easy, but I don't care anymore.
No, because you're living in your true authentic self. So what other people say or think doesn't matter. It's how you feel.
Yep, exactly. And for so long, like my dad unfortunately built this belief system in me because he was so hard on me that like everything I did wasn't good enough and I maybe wasn't deserving of it. And now I am fighting everything I can and trying to heal to not believe that. So it's only within me that I can keep proving to myself, no, I am worth it. No, I can do this. And that's just what you have to keep doing. And I know some days it's not easy and some days it's really hard and you're like, what am I even doing? I can't do this. I'm not worth it. Consistency is key. Mm-hmm. Every day. Small investments in yourself every single day.
Exactly. It is incredible advice and well received, I'm sure. I know I heard some things in there like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I can work on that. You know, we all can. Mm-hmm. We're all growing. We're all learning each and every day. And like you said, some days we're going to stumble. Some days we're going to flat out fall. But it's not about the fall. It's about getting back up.
Yeah. And sometimes the fall teaches us more than we knew before. Like, are we growing when we're just like on cloud 9 all the time and nothing is getting in our way and we're not dodging anything? No, we're just like, this is great. This is great. And then something bad happens and then we like fall apart and, oh my God, I knew it. I just knew I wasn't worth it. See this? No, that is not the lesson that is trying to teach you. That is trying to teach you a growth moment. Hey, do it this way instead of this way. Failing is not, no, just like you said, there is a blessing and a lesson, right?
That's right.
Everything. And when you get in that mindset and you're not saying, oh, I just failed, I can't do this. Right. No. That is not what it's trying to tell you.
No. And I'll tell you something else that I always say. And I started it the last couple of years, right? We all started a lot of new things the last couple of years. I don't fail anymore, right? I don't even know if I admitted before to failure, because who would? Because I was like perfectionist. I was brought up like everyone, people pleaser, perfectionist, like don't talk about it. Just like, don't tell anyone, just keep going. No, now it's about falling forward.
Yep. I
learn as I fall forward and it's great. Okay. Some days aren't so great, but you know what? Overall, it's really great. Cause you're like, oh, I tried that and it didn't work. Well, you're not, then you take another road. If you're driving down the road and there's construction, you just pivot. Maybe you take the next exit or you take the exit one before. You're just not going to turn around and go home. You got to keep going.
That's such a great analogy. And I'm all about analogies because it's like, why do we not keep this simple and why can we not see it? We do it every day in life. Like you just said, we're in traffic. We got to get off the exit. We got to make a decision. Why are we not doing that when there's a roadblock that stops us or we might feel like we failed? We didn't fail. That's maybe a sign to go a different way because that is the better way. And that's what you need to do to grow. And I'm telling you, if life would have been so easy, or even with my podcast, when I was learning and failing and learning and failing, telling you, if it would have just been smooth sailing the whole time, I wouldn't have learned anything. There's no way.
No,
no way.
No, absolutely. There isn't any way. And smooth sailing is boring, right? Especially for people, anyone that has grown up, that you've had trauma, that you're used to chaos. You and I have talked about it. You're actually more comfortable in chaos than you are in smooth sailing.
Yeah.
And that's something else,
crazy.
Which is ridiculously crazy. And we're all trying to relearn that behavior, that when you can get to the point that realize that not having drama in your life is so peaceful. Oh my goodness. Right?
Yep. And it's hard.
Mm-hmm. It's very hard, but it's so much nicer when you realize and you take a step back. And I always say, and I had a therapist who said, Jennifer, once you take off these rose-colored glasses, it's actually going to get harder because everyone around you is still wearing them. So you will be the crazy one because they're still in it.
Yep.
She was right.
Yeah.
And every day you're up against that challenge. And it's then you're learning the triggers, not to be triggered, or what does trigger you and how are you learning to get through that.
Yeah. Which is what I'm currently doing. Triggers, what they are.
We all have them.
Get through them.
Right? And no one doesn't have a trigger. If someone does, I mean, please call me. Let's get you on the podcast. But like, no, there's always something, right? There's always going to be something. But that point when you can go, sometimes the universe, God, whomever you believe in, takes people, places, and things out of your life for a blessing. You are being protected. It's not always a bad thing.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody yesterday and they said something that I have so got to remember. They said rejection is protection.
100%.
And I was like, oh, yeah, I got to remember that. I got to remember that because sometimes we just try so hard. Why is this not working? Why is this not working? Maybe it's not supposed to. Right. Maybe this person's not supposed to be in your life. Whatever it is, it's not easy trying to figure it out. Like these answers aren't like sometimes abundantly clear and other times they are, but
right. No, it's true. And I always say, and this is another philosophy, and it started in business, but it's really true throughout life. If something starts off difficult, I can promise you it will not get easier.
Yep.
It never does. It doesn't matter if it's business, love. No. And that goes back to at the beginning of our podcast. Life does not have to be difficult. It's not supposed to be. We're here for love and joy. We're not here for pain and destruction.
Right. Nope. And that's something that I really have to, since, it's easy since I've lost my parents by 36 and I'm like, why did this happen to me? Why? And like, I don't want to stay in that victim mode. I want to be able to be grateful for what I do have and the family that are still here and all of that stuff and just let go of all of the other stuff that makes my life harder.
Right.
I don't want that.
No, because there's always going to be challenges and there's always going to be a struggle, but it's just learning how to navigate them so that you can flow through them and not get tripped up by it every time.
Yeah. And I don't want to say expecting it because that's something that's really bad with me is I'm like too cautious sometimes. Like a lot of my anxiety came from, I can't enjoy this moment with my family. It's so great right now, but I have to be on guard for whenever something bad happens. That is stealing your joy in that moment. There is nothing in the world that you could possibly do to prepare yourself for what we are completely out of control of. That was really hard for me to wrap my head around because I'm like, no, I still have to be. So if something bad does happen, I can say, see, I told you, I proved myself right. I don't want to live like that.
No.
And not at all.
And that literally is manifesting the exact opposite of what you're hoping.
Yes.
When our mind goes from that happy place to, oh my God, this is so beautiful to, oh my God, when is the shoe going to drop? You just manifested and brought that in.
Yep.
So of course the shoe's going to drop. You just brought it in, right? Right? We all have done it. And that is one of the harder things to grow through and grow past.
Yeah.
It really is.
Right. And then like with mine, 2 of my worst nightmares have came true. So I'm like, okay, I always have to be on guard. And I do not want to be, I don't want to be. So that's why I'm trying, like I say now, I've turned my pain into a purpose. I want to be able to help other people that struggle so they don't feel alone in whatever they're going through. Maybe you haven't lost your parents, but you have gotten diagnosed with cancer or you're battling a drug addiction or something. We are all battling something that we need to be there for each other and give each other compassion and understanding and a listening ear and grace, and the list goes on.
I know, it truly does. So Melissa, we are getting to that time in the show when I ask this one question, darling. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What is one thing that no one knows about Melissa Bright?
Oh my gosh. One thing that no one knows about Melissa Bright. Okay, well, maybe a couple people know this, but I used to be obsessed. When I say obsessed, I mean a wall in my bedroom shrine of Ricky Martin, the beautiful man that is Ricky Martin. When I was 16, I was obsessed with him and I got to meet him.
You did? How was that?
It was awesome. There was like a summer jam here in St. Louis and a whole bunch of different like bands and artists and whatever. And it was so funny because I was with my daughter's dad at the time and he knew I was obsessed with Ricky Martin, never thinking that I would ever get to meet him. And I did. And he actually was with me at the concert and I was just like glowing. It was funny, but it was awesome. And yes, he is beautiful.
How cool is that? That is amazing. And I'm sure you are not alone, that plenty of other beautiful young girls have had him up on their walls too.
Yep. Mm-hmm. He's shaking his bonbon.
Oh my gosh, right? Oh my God. He is pretty handsome. He really is.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Well, Melissa, what one piece of inspiration would you like to leave with us today?
The inspiration that I would like to leave today is that you are worth it no matter what sometimes our thoughts want to tell us when bad things happen or whatever. And it's just not true. A lot of people have went through a lot of bad things and we just start to believe, well, of course, I'm just not worth it. So these bad things are going to happen. And that's not true. And it takes a lot of work to get your mindset into a healthy place when these bad things happen. But you are so worth it and you are worth healing and you're worth happiness and joy and gratitude and living a stress-free life, even though we can't avoid that. But you are worth it. And you need to believe that in all of your heart that you are worth it. And if you can't, then you better find somebody really quickly that can tell you while you don't believe it, because you are.
Well, thank you for that beautiful
That would be
message.
my advice.
That is a beautiful message from the one and only Melissa Bright. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. All of Melissa's information, how to get to her podcast, will be over on the show notes at jenniferpilates.com. So hop on over there. You can check out our episode and hear her live intuitive reading, which was really exciting. We laughed, we cried, we had a really fun time.
Yes, we did. Thank you so much, Jennifer. This was awesome. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you. And as we say, until next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Empowered Within with Jennifer Pilates. Your feedback is important. It helps me to connect with you and gives me insight into who you are and what you're enjoying about the show. For today's show notes and discount codes from today's sponsors, head over to jenniferpilates.com. Until next time, may you live an empowered life from within.